So this is the first edition or part A of the KhoodeelaarTV channel being broadcast online from London in the UK on Tuesday, 23rd of February 2021. Now, The Guardian is now an integral part of the corrupt propaganda assault, packed full of lies, and it has dropped the word Johnson and inserted PM as a permanent thing on the front page. That is offensive and outrageous because PM traditionally carries with it elements of integrity, elements of universality, honesty, and dedication and compassion and lack of cruelty. But Johnson doesn't have those qualities. And the fact that The Guardian is using PM shows that it is on board fully as a slave to the cons cabal fronted by Johnson, so-called government. And this heading is completely corrupt, false, misleading. We shall be talking more about the lying, corrupt, false, misleading headings in today's Fleet Street printed papers, either later during this edition or in the next edition today. And The Guardian is lying because at the bottom of this front page, it quotes a far-right conservative Brexiteer as a kind of dignified, reliable source. And it quotes him as saying, once again, it seems to be modeling, not data, that is driving decisions. Now, the corrupt, crooked Guardian should actually have used that skepticism, which we have been observing right from the beginning, that the Fleet Street papers are not giving the facts. Of course, Steve Baker is talking about Johnson, but we have been saying that it's not just Johnson. It's the Fleet Street papers, including The Guardian, which have not been giving, quote, readers the facts. It is all propaganda. And Steve Baker's reference to modeling is, again, a propaganda, reference to the propaganda, not on the evidence, not on the facts, despite the fact that we do note the fact that he's a far-right Brexiteering liar himself in other respects. And the Daily Telegraph, which is, we named it as Boris Graph because for the last 12 years or so, this Boris Graph has been giving Johnson bribes, millions of pounds of bribes. And that is the reason why we call it Boris Graph. It's not a favorable kind of renaming. It's an unfavorable renaming to denote and to suggest that it is a lying broadsheet organ in Fleet Street that is lying for the career of Boris Johnson based on the lies and opportunism and dishonesty. Now, here is the banner on the front page. The banner itself has got 5 names, and they are described collectively as expert comment and analysis. One is William Hague, the other is Camilla Tomini, one of the most corrupt and right-wing and racist liars in Fleet Street. Suzanne Moore, who exposed the lies in The Guardian and is strategically given a place and a platform by the Boris Graf. And the racist, far-right, fascist, anti-democratic American Janet Daly. Daly is spelled D-A-L-E-Y, but she has been daily lying for 40 years since arriving in the UK and getting a platform. And there is a woman called Lucy Denier, could be called Denier. Lucy Denier and Janet Daly and Camilla Tomini, 3 women out of 4 on there who are all liars. Suzanne Moore is a denier, but not fully kind of describable as a liar. And Camilla Tomini is saying we are on the right road back to the life we have yearned for, but we are taking the scenic route. So that is half lies and half truths. And it says on page 2 of the Boris Graf, gradual easing of social restrictions begins. And the scientists are saying, according to the piece, short piece on the Boris Graf, saying returning to school will put up infection rate, scientists say. So even the Boris Graf is forced to tell the truth that Boris Johnson is actually being careless and negligent and irresponsible. And there is contradiction on every page of the Boris Graf. And the Boris Graf is covering so-called opposition leader Keir Starmer as an agent of Boris Johnson. Now on page 10 of the Boris Graf, there is a piece about the Scottish National Party. And it says, Salmond, the previous leader of the SNP, claims SNP hierarchy made deliberate effort to have him jailed. And the racists are having a go at the police for calling racistly offensive remarks an offense. And the empire is back on page 13 in the Boris Graf. Says farmers urged to seek reaches of Asian markets. And it says that medieval Sicily had Muslims running thriving wine business. We shall be looking at that later. And the Boris graph is full of racism and corruption. And even Janet Daly is saying that Keir Starmer has quit the lockdown debate. And the liar, Charles Moore, the crook, says that recognizing Islamists will sideline moderates. Now he is actually lying there because he's mislabeling Muslims as Islamists. And Celia Walden, who was a columnist before she married Piers Morgan, is saying death threats are no joke. I speak from experience. If we have time, we shall be looking in detail at that particular situation. And the Times is part of the brigade promoting Boris Johnson. It says that the end is in sight. What the mean is that the lockdown will be lifted. And that is what scientists are warning against. So it's not just Steve Baker, but all the scientists with any sense and all the intelligent people in society. And what Johnson is doing and the Tories are going to do by lifting the restrictions and forcing children to return to school is open the floodgates for the third wave, major wave of the virus. That's what will happen. So what we are saying is that Fleet Street is playing a deadly, corrupt role of lying, endangering people and people's safety. And the Murdoch scum is doing that on the front page. And all over the place in the inside page, except the most space on page 3. And they're promoting the leader of the genocide of the Rohingyas, Aung San Suu Kyi, on page 2 as the victim of the coup that she organized. We are saying she organized it politically, and she is benefiting from it by having the claim and demand for her trial for crimes against humanity as the leader of the regime that carried out the massacre, as a diversion. This so-called coup in Burma by the military is a diversion. And diversion from the call. There has been no call or reference in the Western media to the call for trial of Aung San Suu Kyi for the fact that she was the leader of the genocide of the Rohingyas in 2017. And as leader, she led the genocide and then she led the international denial of the genocide. And she denied everything, all the crimes that even the very timid United Nations so-called investigations confirmed the genocide had taken place, and she was liable for trial as a criminal against humanity. And quite apart from the propaganda for lockdown to be restricted, lockdown to be removed, that is, the Murdoch scum is continuing its attack on Oprah Winfrey and the interview that she is going to broadcast, interview with Harry and Meghan. It has been reported yesterday, Monday, that the interview was taped before the latest racist statement and propaganda issued by the Buckingham Palace. So they are saying that that interview will have to be edited again or re-recorded because parts of the contents have become outdated in terms of context, following the fact that the racist statement coming from Buckingham Palace has raised questions that need to be asked in order to make the statement, in order to make the Oprah Winfrey interview with Harry and Meghan up to date in terms of contents. They are not saying that they agree with the retaping or whatever, but it is that factually the program has to be up to date, all of it, instead of being factually obsolete or made out of date by the racist latest statement by Buckingham Palace against the pair. And the corrupt legacy of Beaverbrook, the Daily Express, the title, is continuing the lying, positive in the sense of being optimistic and showing Boris Johnson as being an achiever of results. That is what the Express has been doing for years, decades. And the Express is, in terms of the intensity of its racism and hostility to the idea of international recognition of obligations and rights, which it attached to and ascribed to the UK's membership of the European Union. It has been absolutely anti-European, anti-internationalist, and pro-racist and anti-Muslim. And it is only the Financial Times that is referring to Boris Johnson as Johnson correctly, instead of calling him PM. So it says Johnson insists end in sight with summer target to end COVID curbs. Now that's a Johnson being correctly summarized in that heading. And Johnson is going to unleash another wave of the pandemic with that plan. And the banner briefs, 3 briefs there on the banner at the top of the Financial Times. It says Poland's media resist state moves to curtail freedom. Now we shall talk about media and freedom and the state in due course. UK listing rules. Experts debate the case for and against change. And there is this shot in the dark, how the NRA's bankruptcy filing could backfire. And it's the gun business in the USA that they're talking about. And the Financial Times quotes Johnson as saying there is no credible route to a zero COVID Britain or indeed a zero COVID world. So that is an admission. That is an admission that is inconsistent with the lying propaganda that is stuffed into the contents of the Fleet Street media and the rest of the British media. And when the Financial Times talks about listing, it is talking about the stock exchange. And a piece by Sarah O'Connor under employment says, don't let gig economy chiefs rewrite the law. And the second editorial in the Financial Times, second editorial opinion in the Financial Times today, 23rd of February 2021, is headed, Europe should go big on fiscal policy too. And it is again a corrupt heading and a corrupt copy. It's completely false and uninformative, and it's no journalism at all. The Financial Times reads like an insiders kind of magazine for insiders. Now the big read on page 21 of the Financial Times is about Poland. Poland's broadcasters and publishers see a proposed tax as the latest in a series of steps by the ruling party to curb independent journalism. The moves could yet pose another test of relations with Brussels. And there is a long piece about the poet Keats, Ode to Keats. And there is a letter heading, headed, Some humility is in order for years of austerity. The austerity is a corrupt word. It hides the cuts and the corrupt justification for cuts in public services. And the Financial Times, although it calls him Johnson, is part of the propaganda. It says that Johnson's announcement actually is a sensible one. And it ignores the warning of scientists that is briefly mentioned even in the Boris graph, in a short kind of item. So the Mirror is ferociously serving the agenda for Boris Johnson and the Brigade for resurrecting and resuming and unleashing a new reign of the virus in Britain. And the Daily Mail continues the corrupt, lying, emotional language in support of ending the lockdown. The main heading at the top is Long Road to Freedom, pubs, salons, schools, holidays. Your essential family guide. See pages 6 and 7. 8th of March, 13 days away. 12th of April, 48 days away. May 17th, 83 days away. March 29, 34 days away. And June 21, 118 days. End in sight at last, but it's going to take months. What are we waiting for? It's a kind of stupid, irresponsible, corrupt, uncaring, negligent, and deadly emotional cry for an end to the lockdown. So that's what the right-wing brigade is actually asking for. End to the breakdown. End to the lockdown. So we are ending this part A, at 9:20 hours GMT on Tuesday, the 23rd of February 2021.